This is Eat, Sleep, Invest, the marketing podcast for real estate investors to get more deals.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Brian Driscoll. I'm here with Adam Devine. What's going on, man?
Brian, what's up, brother? Great to be here. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for being on, dude. And everyone listening on the podcast, you can check out, we have a group called Flip Club also. Check it out on Facebook. You can join there, and we're live streaming these, so you can listen live when we record or listen on the podcast, right? So, Adam, you did 247 deals last year, right?
Our team did, PurchRock. Yep, myself, Bob LaChance, my business partner. So we got to give a lot of credit to those guys as well on the acquisition floor. But yes, we did do 247 last year, and we're really fortunate that we had a good break out there, and everybody started to come together with the cohesiveness, and the results show for it.
Nice. So, first, how'd you get into real estate? Let's start there.
Absolutely. So I got into real estate back in 2016. Was finishing up school. Wasn't really sure what the next step was, but I could tell you that I did not want to go work corporate America. I looked at some commercial real estate roles in New York City, and I didn't see myself sitting in an office, dialing for dollars, smiling away for 12, 13 hours, calling on building owners. So I came across a guy on Instagram who was talking about doing wholesale deals. His name was Nick Ruiz. This is like 2014.
Oh, you know Nick?
Dude, I don't personally know him, but I followed him, and just the way he had presented himself, he's out in the trenches. I read his book, Flip. I'm like, dude, this is too fucking good to be true. Like,
and Nick's my boy. We did his marketing for his course like 6 years ago.
Yeah, I was in that course. In that course.
Yeah.
That's great.
How's I tell him? Yeah, that's nice.
So that's awesome to hear. Yeah, I saw his stuff, and I was hooked, and I went off. I started doing it. And at the same time, my business partner now, Bob LaChance, I had knew him through playing men's league hockey, reffing his kids' games. I had reached out to him when I finished up school, sent him a nice message on Facebook, and he didn't get back to me. So I'm like, all right, screw this guy. I see him a couple months later. I'm reffing one of his kids' hockey games, and they're killing the team. Like, it's 10-11-1. He's yelling and screaming at me, motherfucking me up and down the ice. Typical Bob. So I'm like, all right, that's LaChance. Let me bite my tongue. At the end of the game, he doesn't shake my hand. I get off the ice, and I go up to him like, excuse me, coach. He's like, what? I'm like, hey, are you Bob LaChance from Fortune Builders? And his face drops. He's like, hey, how you doing? So this is 2016 at the time. I'm 24. I'm like, hey, I'm doing some deals right now. I had a couple properties under contract I needed help moving. So I'm like, hey, would you be open to partnering? I'm new to the game, just trying to learn more. Met for coffee twice, and he offered me the opportunity to hop on with REVA and run the sales floor there. So I did that for 2 years. And then right before my 27th birthday, when he had a partnership breakup, I said, hey, I wanted more. So I presented him with the idea of asking for 50% ownership of a company that's now 1,200 people. But I got fired day of my birthday, probably the greatest learning experience ever. And in that, I wrote in a letter to Bob saying that, I appreciate everything that you did. I didn't mean anything by it. But, one day you and I will be business partners. And surely enough, end of 2019, we connected back up, started rocking and rolling, and PurchRock was formed. So here we are today, and we're just looking to smooth sail and keep growing each and every day.
That's solid. And you know what? That's interesting, too, because there's a lot of people trying to get into the business, things like that, and they have the hustle. It's like, reach out, ask the guys that are crushing it. Like, learn from them, get involved, things like that,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you could always learn from people. Let's take Collective Genius for an example. We're both part of the group, and, I don't even consider our company a fly on the wall when we enter in there with some of the numbers that these behemoths are doing, right? Guys doing 1,000 deals a year. You got New Western doing, 20,000 a year. It's insane. Guys making $1 million a week. So it's very humbling, and it makes you become vulnerable when you get in there to say, okay, great. You're aspiring and striving to be a better version of yourself, your company. You want to see growth. But it's time to reflect and take a step back to say, how do we implement the same skills and results that these bigger companies have proven? So I think that's a good thing, whether it's on a micro level of being a newer investor to finding someone seasoned and saying, hey, you're young, you're hungry, and this is what value you could either bring to a partnership or to doing deals together, or just sitting down and collaborate and saying, hey, this is what I can do to help you. This is what you can do to potentially help me. There's always an avenue there for synergy.
Yeah, 100%. So Okay, so you started PurchRock when? When did you say?
2019.
All right, so 4 years in. What was that like? What was the progress like actually, let's ask this. What were some of the mistakes that you're like, oh man, I wish I wouldn't have made them?
Yeah, well, we still make them all the time, and those are, I always say, mistakes and losses are really learning lessons as long as you pivotally, you're making a pivot to move on from it. But the mistakes I would say we made early on is not hiring executive people faster, finding a sales manager, hiring a COO, delegating more stuff off our plate. And just, there's the things there's the things you don't know, and then there's the things you don't know. We were very much in that bucket, number 3, getting going, of just not really taking a step back to be creative enough to say, all right, we can get rid of this off our plate and get this off our plate. Because when you first get going, when you start to grow, you have to make the acknowledgement that you're going to get capped out on your tasks, and you have to delegate and find the competent people that you have the training in place to get ramped up. So for us, it would have definitely been delegation. And then also number 2 is getting radically focused on what your why is and getting clear on what you want. We were a little in the shiny object syndrome, like most companies. We're going to go and do wholesale deals and fix and flip and rentals and multifamily, and you have no success doing all that stuff. Unless you're someone who's an operational assassin and have it all dialed in and integrated with each party in person running that segment of your business, which we didn't, you're going to crash. You're not going to be great at the one thing. So when we had stopped doing everything else, focused solely on wholesale, that's where we really saw that rocket approach to having quantifiable results. So those would be the 2 things I would focus on doing differently.
Yeah, and you know what? I agree with you too on the focus, because especially in this space, there's stuff that you have to tell 99% of everything that pops up no. So it's like you'll get spread so thin, and the stuff's it's almost like anything that's fun out there isn't really going to be what's making the money, but that's what's drawing you to it. But the stuff that makes the money is the boring stuff. You just have to be disciplined to do it over and over and over again.
Yeah, I completely agree. Success is boring, as Warren Buffett says. And again, if you look at some of the biggest players in CG, they're doing 1 or 2 things, and they've gotten really, really exceptionally well at it, and they do it for a long period of time. There's an end goal there, right? What is your long-term goal for that business, that focus, and they chase it. The guys that are kind of doing 2 or 3 or 4 different things, yeah, you might have success, but you're never going to grow anything special. There's nothing great that's going to occur from doing multiple things. It's like saying, hey, dude, I want to do MMA, but I'm also going to box. I'm going to do Muay Thai. I'm going to be a bodybuilder. Like, you're going to be nothing. It's just, it's not possible.
Yeah, 100. Okay, so now you getting the right, because it's hard to get the right people in the right seats, right? I know, especially when growing a business, it's like, let's just find whoever can work with us. What did you find there? Like, what are some tips that people could do to? Because I think almost every single person in the world will excel if they're in their right seat. But how do you guys find the right people and match them to that right role?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're still every day getting better at that process, but Predictive Index, PI, we have everyone do the PI, behavioral, and the COG. We want to know what you're going to look like in terms of how quick can you process information. What behavioral traits are you going to possess that are going to be more applicable to being an acquisition rep, lead manager, a disposition rep, a sales manager? What's your past experience? I like to also know a lot about people's struggles in life. Did you go through some kind of serious adversity, mental, physical, emotional? We've had guys in our office that are recovering from drugs. They had lost a family member. There was some kind of catastrophic tragedy that took place, but it has changed their mindset to then focus on being that greater version of themselves. So we always see that if you can go through the trenches, you could be a good fit. We also like athletes. So, I played hockey, Bob played hockey, our top acquisition rep played 12 years professional hockey. We've just found that athletes and hockey players especially, they have a certain, mental drive, a bite, or as we call it, fuck you. They play with that fuck you, and they bring the jam every day. Because we're in a mentally challenging business. You got to be a mental savage to be great. You're competing with companies every day. Other investors are looking to get the same deals you're going after. So it's kind of a collaboration of all those items, but having people that can come in here with that whatever it takes mentality tend to succeed. Because if they're not good at first, they're going to be good. They're going to put in the extra hours. They're going to show up on the weekend. They're going to make the dials on Sunday. And that little compounding effect week over week is what makes that person great compared to the guy with all the talent, but zero drive and work ethic.
Yeah, and that's so true too. Like you can't train or buy drive. Like it just, people are driven or they're not, you know?
Yeah, it's a characteristic trait. Some guys, either you have it or you don't. And there's got to be that innate internal fire, right? You just have to have that killer instinct to say, this is what I want and I'm going to get it. And there's nothing that's going to stop me. And you just have to make sure that when that's said, you are still chasing that far after the moment and the emotion in which you were feeling at that time when it was said. Because people are like, oh, I'm going to go, new year, new me. I'm going to go to the gym, and 2.5 weeks go by in January. And I couldn't make the gym because, I got stuck at work. Like, that's not an excuse. You said you wanted something, go get it.
Yep, and I hear you there. Explain a little bit about Predictive Index, because that's important. A lot of people might not know what that is.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert when it comes to PI, but Predictive Index is a hiring tool to understand people's behaviors and what their strengths and weaknesses are, especially on how those particular traits are going to apply to the role that you're hiring. So, we have built out those different types of profiles for an acquisition manager, an acquisition rep, a sales manager, a disposition rep, a lead manager, our COO, and we brought in Sharper, so Gary Harper and his team. We've had Austin McCurdy recently come in for our quarterly. And each and every time those guys come in our office, we learn so much. We learned a ton from Austin on PI, how to better understand how each trait is applicable, right? If you're a driver, where's your A need to be for an acquisition role? Where should your B be? Where should your C be? Is there a corporate hook? Why is someone who's a corporate hook going to be a better fit for the acquisition role? Why is a captain going to be a better fit than altruist in that position? And there's a lot of it that goes into it. I'm still learning, but just being able to better, identify those skills, it makes more sense when it's time to hire these folks, because you're no longer playing the guessing game of like, I think they may be a good fit. Well, they seem motivated. You can really base your hiring and firing on, all right, is this person going to be probable to success in this seat? A, B, C, D tells me yes, or A, B, C, D tells me no, and we can move on. Most importantly, we're going to be able to save our time, right? You could spend so much time on a bad candidate. Let's just, hey, you're not a fit. Thank you so much. We wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, I look at it too. Like initially when I got into real estate, I was doing my own property management, right? And I'd let people talk me into renting to them. And then I'd get burnt. And then I go to property manager, and now it's just a piece of paper. They say, okay, here's the numbers, pass or no. And I look at it same on this side too. When you're hiring, if you have people do Predictive Index before you even talk to them, you can segment your list and cut 80% of the people out. That it'll just tell you, hey, they're not a fit for this role, And then you've just interviewed the last 10%.
Right. And we recently brought on a recruiter, and he's been doing a great job. So he now handles all of that, and we have him going through the PI training. So what's good about it is he can just vet that individual out immediately when they put in an application. Is this person even worth getting on a 5 to 15-minute phone call? No? Okay, great. And you can then cut right to the chase. Okay, these are the 3 to 4 candidates. So, you may say, all right, well, you're going to lose out on potentials you don't talk to, and people tend to think there's going to be less leads that come in for candidates, but it's not true, because those candidates that you identify actually are going to save you time and allow you to know who is that exact target that you're going after.
Yeah, it's 100%. Yeah, and anyone listening, check out I think it's predictiveindex.com. Check it out. All right, so Adam, you guys started out, did 247 deals last year. Like, what are you doing to get these deals? Like, 247 is a lot. That's like 4 or 5 deals a week. Most people don't get to that level,
We're getting really dialed in on, like we said, that one thing. What do we want to do? End of 21, we had started selling off our portfolio. Bob and I had about 35 doors, got rid of everything. Him and I don't own anything together. I have a handful of rentals myself, but it was, where do we want to go? What does our 10-year goal look like? What does this company look like? And get really clear on, what is our people count? What does technology look like? What do markets look like? What does our acquisition process look like? So everything had to get very fine-tuned to there's clarity on each and every part and facet of the business. For us last year, we got really dialed in on lead channels, right? We were running cold call and text. We're fortunate that Bob's virtual assistant company, REVA Global, does a great job for us, and we have that in our back pocket so we could tinker, we can redirect markets, We can try different pitches with the VAs or having different conversations. We can audit those calls. We control we control everything in that process. And then we've always found mail to be old faithful. We send out a good amount of mail, 60, 70,000 pieces a month. And from there, our acquisition team take those leads. And as of recent, what's going to help us this year to continue to grow that count is your team. So Motivated Leads. Since getting going with you guys 2 weeks ago, and just taking a step back, I'm not one to promote something unless we use it. I don't want to bullshit people. It's just, let's talk real here. Since getting going with you guys 2.5 weeks ago, we've done 8 contracts, and there's something to be said about it because we've done PPC in the past and didn't have the best experience. So, for working with you guys, we approve the leads. I know our acquisition reps are very happy. The level of motivation and how quick someone is to saying they want to sell, it's a refresher because our guys are used to having to really dig in and work deep on a cold call or a text message or a mail piece. They're not 1-2 call closes. So when you get into these PPC leads, that's really been really pivotal for our team. So yeah, I think that's going to help us a lot, go from that 247 to continue to grow upward and onward as we go on.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. Okay, so REVA, well, first, REVA, you guys will do texting and prospecting, right?
Yeah, so that's trained virtual assistants, right? And that's Bob's company. He can really talk much more in depth on it, but for us, what we're using them for is the cold calling, the text messaging. They'll manage your campaigns. These individuals are trained on it. So prior to them getting into your business, I know a lot of other companies talk about, our VAs are trained and we profile this and that. It's like, knowing what I know from working in that part of the business and then also seeing it, most companies are kind of fly by night. I don't know how many other credible companies actually have a dedicated training team. So Bob's team go through, it's called REVA University. They're going to go through that actual training for X amount of weeks based on that person's particular business. So if you're using launch control, using Smarter Contact, you're using 5.9, you're using Ready Mode, they're going to train on that tool. A lot of times our VAs are already trained because when they go through their pre-existing training to get into the company, they're learning all this technology. And then it just gets fine-tuned with, all right, you're a wholesale company that wants to send out, 5,000 text messages a day. You're going to use 3 or 4 LC accounts. They're going to have that person specifically trained. So it's fortunate because it saves a lot of time, and we know there's going to be effectiveness and results from having trained VAs.
Right. Where are you getting the list from?
We're pulling our list right now through IDI. And that's been good for us. I know there's some better providers, and we're probably leaving some opportunity on the table, not working with an Audantic or an 80/20. It's something we're looking into as we speak, whether it's getting more fine-tuned on our data. For us, we keep it simple, stupid. We pull a freaking list. We hit it from cold call, text, and mail, and we get to work. Hard hat, lunch pail. But I know there's a better way out there. There's definitely a better way.
You know what, though? I like how you roll. Because I talk to a lot of people, and they're like, oh, yeah, well, I got to get my list first, and I got to get this first, and I got to get this first. Like, no, man, just go out there and do it. Do it at 80% and crush it. That's better than just waiting in paralysis by analysis,
So, dude, you're a captain just like myself. We're the same. I am not an operations guy. I'm not a systems and processes guy. There's people it's not a skill set of mine at all. If you want to tell me to go to 0-100 and just fucking go and take action, I can do that all day long. And I firmly believe, done is better than good. We can fine tune and improve on it after we get some kind of result and process in place. So for us and in our office, again, it's just keep it simple. Pull the list, attack it, and let's get some freaking results. And then from there, we can find the people that are smarter than us to say, hey, you might want to go and do this type of list stacking or go after this targeted market. It's the only way we're going to learn. But if you don't take action, you could sit there for 2 years, analysis paralysis, and I don't know if I should pull this list and that list, and I need to get this CRM. And it's dude, just take freaking action.
Yeah, that's what I figured too. Once you start taking action, you're going to figure it out. If you go find a house for the right price, you're going to figure out what to do with it. It's you just got to get out there, go door knock, go drive for dollars, whatever you need to do, get out there and start finding the deals,
Yeah, I agree. Just take action, be energetic, and just drive. Figure out what you're skilled at and delegate the rest.
Yeah, what kind of mailers you guys finding work the best?
We just use basic yellow mail pieces. That's it.
Yeah,
with REI Print Mail, and they've been good to work with. I've been with them for about 4 years now. Corey Meeker over there, and he does a great job. He has a lot of other data that he uses for A/B testing and always tries to sway us. So you should try this piece out and that piece. We've used the blank check before in the past, but we just stick to a basic yellow piece and it works. Like some people use a red piece in their market. Some people use a blue piece because blue is more of a trusting color. Red's right, take action now. So, you figure out what works and you go with it. I mean, again, we're personally not the most data-driven company, right? There's a lot of people that track far more KPIs than we do. We're more of, right, like, what are we doing to improve our results, right? Is it action? Okay, great. How do we improve on it?
Yeah, you know what? When I used to do mail, actually, Nick Ruiz is the guy that hooked me up with the yellow. He gave me his yellow letter. He's like, hey, just use this one. It's already, I know the font and everything. But I sent out yellow letters and get results. And then Chad and I, Chad, we went out and we're like, you know what? We're going to go make this fancy postcard. So we made a postcard through Postcard Mania. It was fancy. It looked corporate, matched the city colors and everything. We sent out 5,000 pieces and got 0 phone calls. Like, oh, man, that stings. You know what I mean? And then the yellow letters, we sent a couple hundred out and we get phone calls,
Dude, that's great. And, I've talked to people like yellow mail sucks. I've heard it from even people in our market. They're like, yeah, no, yellow's terrible. I don't know how you guys are getting results. So, so much of it goes into what's the message on the mail piece? Is it a postcard? Is it a letter? What's the envelope look like? There's so many data points to getting into mail. Like Jason Lewis talks about it, and you're just like, dude, like, I'm not following you. You are at next level of cognition. I'm just like, all right, here's the mail. Please call me. Yeah. Like, we'll obviously look though at like what our results are. Like I could say, hey, like, we did 7,000 red mail pieces and we got 14 phone calls, and we did 7,000 yellow and we got 29 phone calls. So you can pretty much put together, right? If I shoot par at a golf course and you shoot 8 over, I think the guy who shoots par is a little bit better. So it's easy to make that decision.
It is, yeah. I gotcha. So, all right, so you got these leads coming in, right? What's your, for anyone listening, what's your process look like? Like, you get a lead coming in, what happens?
Lead comes in, goes right into our CRM, acquisition takes it. So we just allow all our acquisition reps to go after leads. It's pretty much, it's a free for all in there. We don't have any specific process. There's 7 reps.
You mean they just come in, it's like you grab it, first one gets it.
Yeah, so our senior acquisition reps can call on anything. Our junior reps, we have them start out in our southern markets, which tend to be a little easier than the north, Connecticut, Mass, Rhode Island, New York. You're dealing with your cutthroat New York mentality. Hey, I received 8 postcards last week and 16 phone calls. What the fuck are you calling me? And you're like, okay. Like, you don't get that down south. It's like, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm doing great. Oh, great to hear from you. And it's just a total different paradigm. So we'll have our junior reps, and they still could take all the inbound stuff in the south. Our guys up north, or our senior reps, they can call on anything. And then our leads that have a higher cost, like mail and PPC, those go to just our senior reps. So we want to make sure that we're monetizing the leads that are going to have a higher dollar value too. So leads come into CRM, our reps call on them. Since we're a virtual buyer, we don't go on appointments. Our reps just stay in the follow. We have someone who's kind of like our lead manager now. She's an acquisition rep, but she tends to do a really, really good job at getting everyone to say yes and then following up. So she kind of plays that role, but she's still an acquisition rep. But everyone they follow up on their leads. Our guys like doing the follow-up because they believe that within that process, since somehow we buy is virtual, they feel that they're going to be more inclined to get that deal if they handle it from call to contract versus having it turn over to somebody else after they initiate that phone call. Because the rapport is there, and that ability to establish the know, like, and trust is going to come from that individual on a recurring amount of phone calls versus like, all right, now I'm going to send you back to, Stacy, and Stacy's going to send you back to Connor, then Connor's going to possibly send it. It's like, doesn't work. So
right.
That's our process.
Yeah, and if anyone's watching on Facebook too, you can drop comments and ask questions. We'll answer them at the end. All right, so you get that process then, and virtual is tough. I hear from a lot of guys, some in the marketing space, a lot of guys are like, oh yeah, we're going to do the whole United States, this and that. Then like 2 months later, we send them a whole bunch of leads, and they're like, it didn't work out. So I know a lot of people, especially people new, I don't recommend doing virtual, but you figured it out. Like, what's your key to success there?
Yeah, let me take a step back on that and start from the beginning. We had started out doing inside-outside Connecticut, then we went to Massachusetts, then there was Rich and Adam and CG who run a hedge fund, and they were buying SFRs, and they had asked us to target their markets down the south. And we don't have boots on the ground. And again, since we're action takers, like, we're not sitting here in our brain trying to figure out, like, how are we going to get a lockbox and do this and that? We're like, dude, let's call on the list and get properties under contract. We'll figure it out later. That's what we did. And we had a lot of results with these guys. Like in our first quarter, when we did, I think, 42 properties, it was Q3 or Q4 of 21. So the results were there. It was just take action, have conversations, and set expectations, and let the sellers know this is how this is going to work, right? We're going to buy your home. We would work with a local agent in the states we're not licensed in to have them actually put the properties up and take care of it on that front. But getting properties signed, it's no different, right? If you establish that, hey, this is how our company buys properties, we don't come out, we're going to later on have individuals go through part of our buying process. This is how we're going to potentially partner with an end buyer, yada, 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 whatever your sales pitch is. But yeah, we just took action on it, and we continued to refine it as we did more of it, and then decided, hey, why are we going on appointments in our backyard? Well, we just got more dialed in on it in Connecticut and Massachusetts. So you're constantly refining it. What worked today may not work tomorrow, and what worked 2 years ago may not work 5 years from now. So it's just, you have to always be conscious on being very fluid and pivoting.
Yeah, and one thing, because I know we started sending leads over to you too. What I like about you guys is it's like, we can sprint, but it's like, okay, let's sprint quickly, but not too much, and make sure we got the right systems in place, things like that, so we're not being wasteful.
Definitely. That's another thing, that when you go virtual, you could be really going through your leads fast. I always say this: fortune's in the follow-up, and if you're going to play the virtual game, your follow-up has to be impeccable, and you have to be more dialed in than ever before on that, because that individual you're competing with, who could be boots on the ground, all they have to do is set up that in-person appointment, and they're going to have such a better chance of getting that contract. They're probably going to beat you out unless you know what you're doing and how to build that rapport and convey that confident trust into the seller to say, hey, we're going to go work with you. I know that we only communicated over the phone, but based on what it is you're offering, again, at the end of the day, that seller cares about one thing. They want what they're asking for. They make it very clear. They're going to tell you what they want. And how well you can convey what it is they're desiring is what's going to determine whether you get a deal or not. And a lot of people still can't do that face-to-face. What we figured out is, how do we do that to the best of our ability over the phone? And then most important thing is coming through on it. You have to execute on what you say. Like, if we can't do something, we're going to be transparent about it. We're not there to take a Hail Mary play. Either we can or we can't do it, and that's it. But we're going to make sure that we have integrity every step of the way.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because yeah, you're right. A lot of people don't even go in. A lot of people, their first 3 or 4 sentences are getting the price already. They haven't even figured out what's a problem, how they can help, anything like that. And that's so important. You're right. People only care about solving a problem, and people have different problems.
I agree. I think the best deals too, you never really talk about price. The seller ends up coming out and saying, well, what's the next step? Because you spend so much time getting to know them, figuring out what's the real challenge. People will maybe pick at the onion and then immediately go to cut it, right? You need to peel the onion back, peel it back, peel it back, peel it back. And you really fall in love with the actual process of peeling the onion. Then you're going to get what you want, and you're going to make it their idea, which is the best part, right? When you have to go and press for a number, likelihood is that you're digging and you could push that seller. So again, it's a sale process. It comes with time, and people have to get better at it.
Right. All right, let's see. Brent Beaver's got a question. He wants to know, have you ever obtained properties through a sheriff's sale?
No.
Okay, me neither. Yeah, sorry, Brent. We don't have anything for you on that one. Matt Hayes says, what's up? You know Matt from CG?
Yeah, he's a rock star when it comes to Airbnb. I follow his stuff online, man. I like how he's very dialed in. Met Matt, he did it, I think it was Florida in December, and he presented on Airbnb, how he went really focused into it. So my takeaway from him was that he's very dialed in on his one thing. So Matt, what's up, brother? Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, Chris Haskins, you know him. He says good stuff.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, what's going on, Chris? Good seeing you here, man. Hey, well, hey, thanks for coming on, dude. Anything else we missed we should be talking about?
There's a bunch of stuff we could cover. I would say take action to anybody out there. Don't overthink it. I'm not the smartest tool in the shed. I'll be the first to say it. There's a lot more people that are far smarter than myself. We'll take my COO. He's a very dialed in systems and processes guy. But, for us, it's take action. At the end of the day, figure out what your strengths are, get real clear on what you want and the why behind it, and get tunnel vision, get radically focused. And you don't have to be the smartest guy, but if you're just consistent. I love the book by Darren Hardy, Compound Effect, because if we do little things day in and day out, consistency and discipline, my favorite thing, right? Discipline is freedom. Discipline's remembering what you want. If you can be consistent in your discipline, you're going to be consistent in your results, right? If I take 5 steps today and you take 3, and I do 5 steps for 365 days straight, and you do 3 steps for 180 days, I'm going to be light years ahead of you just because of the consistent actions I took. So it's a simple thing. If you're out there, you're looking to get started, you're looking to get to the next level, tune out the noise, get really dialed in on results. And how you're going to do that is just taking consistent action every single day, even on the days that you have no desire to work or, well, I'm working too hard and I want to break. Like, keep going.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I was just talking with someone about that too. You know how everyone wants to get into health, right? Or get in health, they want to be healthy.
Right.
We were just talking about it's like the boring stuff. It's like if you want to be healthy, go to the gym 5 days a week, eat meat and vegetables. Simple. The hard part is doing it. Like the discipline, like you're talking about. It's like you got to do it day in and day out. Well,
it's always cooler to talk about it, right? A lot of people like to talk about real estate until it's time to do it.
Yeah.
It's cool to say, hey, I'm going to go back to the gym and work out, and then at 7:30 at night, you're too tired to cook that steak, so you chose to eat the Hot Pocket or something that was far less nutritional. And what goes in is what comes out, right? Junk in, junk out, quality in, quality out. So you got to be conscious of every decision. What you do today is your result tomorrow.
Yeah, and you're right on talking about it too, because a lot of people that before they do it, they want to talk about it, and then they start overthinking it. It's like, doing real estate, in my opinion and from my experience, it's easier to do real estate and it's easier to make money than I thought it was going to be. Like what I thought you needed to do was way more elaborate than it really is.
I would agree. I think one of the biggest things too to remember is intentions and actions, right? You have to make sure your actions match your intentions. A lot of people like to talk, and sometimes they get wrapped up in their brain in like a feedback loop of believing that their intentions over time become their actions. And unfortunately, the two don't correlate unless you actually go out and do it. So again, there's people that have success. They run portfolios of 200 rentals. They don't have any software. These old school guys are, guy flips 20, 30, 40 properties a year. He just has his relationships that bring him fix and flip deals. There's no software. There's no CRM. They figure out their way. And to each his own, right? There's 1,000 ways to cut a pie. It's what works for you and what's going to allow you to get the lifestyle you're desiring.
That's cool, man. Hey, well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate you.
Brian, you're the man, dude. I appreciate you having me on the podcast. Always a pleasure, dude.
Hey, if anyone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way?
You can check me out on Instagram at @AdamDevine, or you can reach out to me on Facebook at Adam Devine. I'm always happy to chat and connect.
All right, what's your website?
Our website is PurchRock.com, PurchRock.com. And then if you're interested in virtual assistants, you can go check out Bob's company over at REVAGlobal.com, REVAGlobal.com. We also run a podcast. Bob runs this with Tom Mealy in our office, Pucksta Properties. So we interview all former NHL or professional hockey players that went through the pivot from being a professional player, having that void, figuring out what's your identity, and getting into real estate. So what that transition was. We've had a lot of big name guys come on there. So go ahead and check that out as well.
Nice, cool. Hey, guys, we'll put that in the show notes, too. You can check it out. Hey, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you.
Thanks, brother. I'll see you soon.
All right. Hey, thanks, everyone, for listening. Until next time, get out there, crush it, close some deals. We'll see you guys.